and welcome to Counsel Trends. I am Dr. Mercy Connors, and Dr. Shawnee Anderson is back with us today. She was feeling under the weather last time, so we really do appreciate Dr. Mark Mayfield stepping in, but we're so glad that you are feeling better.
Thank you.
And I love the topic that we're going to be talking about today because I struggle with this. So, full disclosure. It's called Revenge Bedtime Procrastination. Why do we do it and how to stop? This is from therapist.com. Came out actually in May 2024, sorry. See, I'm already off my rocker with the revenge. But I love this. So basically what this is that you feel like you don't have enough time in the day, that's to yourself, so you will procrastinate going to bed, doing little things like getting on Facebook, looking at the news, all of these things because you want control over your schedule. And I'm like, all of that, yes.
What I thought was so interesting is that the Chinese were the first to coin the term.
Yes, I did find that interesting.
And it is a funny phrase,
Yes.
Revenge Bedtime Procrastination, of like, who are you getting revenge at? It's yourself.
It is. And that is what it actually is. You are getting revenge on your schedule. So you oftentimes feel like you don't have enough time in the day, which, I mean, who
does?
Yeah, who in this world feels like they have enough time in the day? But, so after you do all your day, you finally, like for me, finally get the kids in the bed,
Yes.
right? You're like, oh, some peace and quiet, and I am going to, my problem is X. I am on there all for hours.
Well, I feel bad because I think I got you on X.
You did. But that is, I mean, it is really hard because I'm also catching up from what happened in the day because I've been at work or I've been with the girls and I don't have a clue. And so this is my way of, okay, not only am I trying to catch up, but I'm also trying to, decompress from the day.
Right.
And
the blue light on your phone or your iPad, I'm sure, is not helping that.
It's terrible. It is terrible. I'm not even joking. But I think it's also interesting because it's not only taking revenge on your schedule, it's also procrastinating. So you're like, oh, I need to go to bed, but I don't want to go to bed yet. Or I can do that in 5 minutes. And then 20 minutes goes by. And then it's like, oh, wait, I was supposed to go to bed a whole lot longer.
Well, how many times do we get caught in that? I think everybody can identify with that. It's like, oh, I'm just going to scroll and catch up on what's happened. And next thing you know, it's like 45 minutes has passed and it's getting later and later. And I do the same too. But I actually will crawl into bed and get all snuggly and then start scrolling.
Oh, no, that's what I do.
Oh, so you're in bed too. Okay. So we're in bed. We're just not falling asleep because we're catching up.
Right, which is really funny because I have an Aura ring. And so my Aura ring's always like, you've been in bed for 2 extra hours, but you weren't asleep.
Go to sleep. Well, I think now it makes sense why I get those late night texts from you with information of what's going on
right.
X. But I think that may be part of the problem. I know for me is as I start scrolling, it's like, oh my gosh, this happened today. Oh my gosh, this happened today. Yes. It's actually wiring me and waking me up rather than putting me to sleep.
Right. But I think it's also interesting too because it's like you don't want to do it. You don't want to go to bed, even though you are exhausted. I know for me, like it's like when I crawl into bed, I am pooped. I am done. But it's like I cannot get myself to then put the phone down and actually go to sleep. And so they were actually talking about how this can be because you may be a night owl, which I'm not.
I used to be. I'm not anymore.
That is not me. It's not because that's like the time, what I'm used to. I am used to going to bed at between 9:30 and 10 o'clock. Wow. And no, not anymore after kids. Oh,
I was like...
No. And my husband's a night owl, so that doesn't help me either. But it's very, very interesting that it also talks about how this is another way for you to decompress.
Yes.
Now, it's also saying that it's bad because you're losing sleep, which is what you actually need. So it actually may be...
It's creating a vicious cycle.
It's a self-perpetuating cycle, which they were talking about how sleep deprivation. I loved how they were talking about this because I'm like, oh, I've got that and that.
The consequences are horrible.
Yes. So having issues with attention, judgment, memory, thinking, learning problems. I really feel like that's connected to this whole new idea of brain fog, where you're just, just trying to get your brain to do stuff, and you just can't. Also, mood problems like anxiety, depression, paranoia, impulsiveness, and also thoughts of suicide.
What can happen from when you're sleep deprived?
Yes. Also, a lower sex drive, increased appetite or cravings that lead to weight gain, which that makes complete sense because you're up longer, so you're going to get hungry quicker.
Yep.
A weakened immune system, which that is always an issue when you haven't gotten enough sleep. Increased rate of skin aging. So if you don't want to look old, you better
make sure to get your sleep. You can tell. Look at my face.
I know. Well, mine too. An increased risk of heart disease, an increased risk of diabetes, and high blood pressure. Now, I think this is very, very interesting because they said if you are regularly getting 5 to 6 hours of sleep a night, then the chances are that you are actually shaving off years of your life.
Isn't that scary?
Yes, because that's all I'm getting right now.
Oh, honey. Well, and it is interesting because I remember, I think I slept the least when I was like in high school and college, and I was a night owl. I never, ever, ever slept.
Right.
And now that I'm in a season of life where I'm an empty nester, I actually, when I finish my day, I will just sit on the couch, watch some TV with my husband. We're both scrolling. It's probably the worst thing for our relationship.
Right.
But I'm able to go to bed. I've got a whole weird bedtime ritual in and of itself, which is probably not healthy. But I'm thinking I actually am getting better sleep now that I'm older. Right. I'm remembering, though, being a new mom and having littles around, you can't. There's just not enough hours in the day.
No, it's not. And I think it also comes back to this whole aspect of wanting that personal time, that time that's just to yourself. And so you're willing to sacrifice your sleep, which is something that you want and something that you need.
And you need it.
But you're like, I just want time where I'm deciding what I want to do.
But what I think is so interesting is how we're talking about being on our phones. And I do think probably a lot of people will engage in that because it's just so easy to do when you're trying to avoid sleep. I remember when I was younger, before cell phones and all of that, every night I would take a nice long bath or I would work out before I would go to bed. And I was actually doing all these healthy things that would actually slowly bring down the intensity of the day.
Right.
I don't even do any of that stuff anymore.
Yeah.
I only calm down with my phone.
Well, and it's interesting because one of the things that it says to actually do is to have a good bedtime routine.
Yes.
Which, let me just say this. As a mom of little kids, your bedtime routine is whatever is happening in that day. I may have I brush my teeth and I get ready and da-da-da-da. But the bedtime routine is maybe 10 minutes, and sometimes it's rushed because I have a little girl coming in and saying, I need my tummy rubbed. I need this. I can't find my animal, and I'm like, okay, so even at that point in time, I'm the things that are supposed to cue my clock that it's time to go to sleep is interrupted. And I wonder too if maybe that's something that is happening with this revenge bedtime procrastination is because you didn't have the normal routine didn't happen.
Right.
Therefore, you're not able to actually make it into bed.
And it's also talking about revamping your schedule to include that personal time.
Right.
And I know you work so hard. You get here so early and you work full time, and then you've got this whole family to manage when you get home.
Yep.
Is there any personal time that you take during the day other than to escape maybe to the bathroom or something? I mean,
that's pretty much it.
I don't ever see you taking that time. Even when you're working, you're walking on your treadmill.
Right.
Do you ever take that time for you?
On my way to work. Now, again, I'm driving, but
on my way
to work, I do listen to the Bible app.
Okay, good.
And that to me is very, sometimes it's not very interesting. Like I've been through Leviticus and I'm like, I'm not sure what God is trying to teach me through Leviticus. But I think that is my time where I can settle down, close off from the day. It's really my drive times because I've got about 20 minutes that I've got to drive. And so in the morning, I listen to my Bible app. In the afternoon, I listen to history podcasts because I'm that kind of nerd. But I think that those are my only, what I would call my downtime. Other than that, I'm either with my kids or at work or with my husband.
So I'm hearing we need to revamp your schedule to squeeze in maybe 15 minutes to go on X and find out what's going on in the world.
And maybe even put a timer on of, okay.
Yeah, we all say we want the timer and we keep scrolling away.
Guys, hold on. But that could be something too. I mean, I know I have used with my daughter, I am not used to going and picking her up because that was just not a part of my routine. Now I have a timer on my app on my phone that goes off at 3:30 every day, so I know to go and get her.
So isn't that interesting? You're willing to set a timer for her.
Yes.
We have to work on setting a timer for you to get that extra time that you need for you.
Yeah.
To help you sleep.
And I guess, I'm speaking to the choir, right?
I know, exactly.
You guys all know what this feels like. So another thing that it was saying, and I thought this was great, is to cut out, delegate, or ask for help. And that, again, I'm like, I probably need to do that more. But I love the asking for help.
Yes.
Because I do think that there are some things that we feel like, I'm going to speak especially as a mom, especially as a woman, that we feel like we need to be that super mom.
Right.
So for example, this morning I was running late. I literally run into the bedroom. I'm like, Jesse, you got to come and help me.
Yes.
Because I wasn't going to get out in time. And guess what? We got out in time. But I had to... I couldn't take my super mom there. Like I had to realize there's no way I'm going to make this work.
What is it about us or having an issue asking for help? Because I know for me, kind of the same thing of working full time and going home and making dinner and having to take care of all those things.
Yep.
And what's been interesting for me since my husband was retired.
Yeah.
Sometimes it drives me nuts because he's just kind of golfing and watching TV. I'm like, and I'm working so hard. But I have learned to ask him, and he's a phenomenal chef. So he has helped out by making dinners. So it's one less thing that I have to worry about.
I think it really has to do with pride.
I think you're right.
That's what I think it is for me. It's I am the mom. I am the wife. This is what I'm supposed to do. So this is what I need to do. And, me and my husband, because of our schedules, we have to split because there's no way for us to actually do it differently. So I take the eldest to school, so I get her up, I do breakfast. He has to do breakfast for the two little ones. So it's really understanding that you have to split those responsibilities, and it's okay.
Well, and I also think cutting out responsibilities of learning how to say no to certain things can also be hard.
Yes.
And I'm wondering sometimes even those bedtime things of, no, honey, I can't rub your tummy tonight. Or, no, I'm not going to get up and wash all the dishes before I go to bed. That I actually need to say no to some things.
Right.
And take care of me. It goes back to the whole airline thing of you got to put on your oxygen mask first.
Well, last night, that just goes, so we did a whole deep clean yesterday. Oh, my. And I mean, because we were cleaning the whole rest of the house, all the dishes got piled up in the sink. And I'm like, they ain't happening today. But I literally had to make myself say, no, I'm not going to do that right now because I just did all this other stuff and I need to sleep. Yeah. So again, I think that is just realizing, hey, if the dishes have to wait until tomorrow, the dishes have to wait until tomorrow. If the laundry is in the dryer, you know what? You can wait until tomorrow to fold it.
But making sure that you're taking that extra time as that me down regulating time is so critical.
And I think it's very interesting. It says to learn how to manage stress properly. And I think everybody and their mother wants to learn how to manage stress properly. But a lot of it is some basic stuff. It's eating right. It's getting some of that exercise.
Yes.
If you have a lunch break, go and take a walk outside. That's so healthy for you. So there's some of these little things that you can do. One of the things that I do is in the morning, it's been cold lately, so I haven't been doing this, but I usually park in the farthest parking spot.
You do.
So that I can get that little extra walk. It's outside.
You're so good with your steps.
I mean, I try.
You're very good with that.
But also procrastination. I think that's another thing too, is just sometimes we just don't want to do it. And there are things that I think we can say yes to and things that we can say no to. Like I said no to the dishes last night. I will have to say yes to those dishes this afternoon. But I still, it's procrastinating in a way that's healthier, but also realizing, you got to get certain things done.
What I thought was interesting in the article is it was talking about how some people who are just general procrastinators in general will procrastinate about bedtime just because they procrastinate everything.
Yeah.
But what I think is so interesting is this concept of it's taking revenge out on your schedule and on yourself. And I know that's one of the things that I will often talk about in therapy with some of my patients, of recognizing that you have a relationship with yourself and looking at procrastination and looking at self-care as a relationship that you have with yourself. Are you angry at yourself for having such a crazy schedule that you're basically like, I'm mad at you, and so I'm going to stay up doing what I want to do?
Yeah.
And not even recognizing that it's harming you.
Yep.
And so that's why I was saying sometimes it's easier to do these things for other people. So I always think, like, if you're really looking, if you do some of this, look at the relationship you have with yourself. And if you're doing a lot of procrastination, does that mean that might you be really angry at yourself because you've overcommitted?
Yep.
Or are you angry at yourself because you're not taking better care of yourself?
Right.
Of taking it a little bit deeper to look at what is going on in that relationship with yourself.
As you were just talking, I was wondering too if maybe this is like some internal family systems, that there is that part of you that's like your mom or your dad that was like, you got to go to bed, and this is kind of like I'm sticking it to the man.
Yes.
I'm going to stay.
Yes, if that's the revenge, that you're still fighting against those internalized, what we call internalized objects inside of you, or those part of you that you haven't really explored to say, is this something that I even want to be a part of me anymore?
Right. And I think too that's also realizing that those internal objects, like you were talking about, those were in place on purpose. That it's so that you stay healthy. It's so that you have a good amount of night rest. But I also think that that's something too that we need to wrestle with as well, of what is it about me am I angry at? And schedule obviously may be one of them, but it also could be externally too. The kids are just going bonkers, and I literally have 2 minutes apiece. Is there some ways to maybe do some downtime even with them? I'm even just thinking, outside the box.
But kids probably need that too.
Absolutely.
And you are working on creating those internal objects within your daughters.
Yes. And I have to admit, I'm not very good about bedtime. My kids are all going to be night owls. I'm sure of it. But again, create a good pre-bedtime routine. Something, and I'm going to say this, something that you can stick to. This is something that I think, and also remember that habits take 21 days.
Yes.
So you've got to stick with it for 21 days. I know one of the things that I've been working on is putting on lotion on my face, because I'm terrible about doing that, because I always forget. But you know what? I know.
Good for you.
21 days, and I have been sticking to it. And guess what? Now it's a part of my routine.
Well, and maybe looking at bedtime, like you're saying, a lot more realistically.
Yes.
That it's about saying, okay, my goal for my children to go to bed is at this time. And I know I want to spend my 15 minutes on X. So maybe I need to push my bedtime back by 15 minutes. Can I sleep in a little bit longer? Or looking at ways to realistically adjust.
Right. The other thing that I think is really important is to restrict that screen time before bed, which I know all of us,
worst.
struggle at that. But I was reading another article, and it wasn't in this article, but it was talking about how you actually need to put away devices 2 hours.
Yes.
2 hours
because
before
of the
bed.
effects of the blue screen.
I know. So FYI, guys,
Yeah.
the other thing to think about too is those blue light glasses. And I think one of the things that we need to think about as a society is to really understand how much that is really affecting our circadian rhythms and things like that. So even utilizing those blue light glasses, not only during the nighttime, but also maybe during the day.
Well, and I know one of the things that I'm really bad at is having my phone on my nightstand.
Yes, I
And
am
if I
too.
wake up in the middle of the night, I pick it up, which is the worst thing to do.
Yep.
And I just so admire the people that have their phones like in another room. And that's one of the things I have to work on because I'm terrible. Right before I go to bed, I'm listening to podcasts. I'm listening and watching videos on YouTube.
Right.
And I'm the worst.
Right, and I think that's something too to think about. And now there's some of us that need to have that phone next to your bed because if you have, like me, I have elderly parents.
Well, likewise, yes.
So there's
That's my excuse.
there's there's some safety things there too. But also I think too, going back to the original alarm clock. I have not done that. And I could leave my phone in the bathroom and I could just have an alarm clock on my nightstand.
So what if you and I worked on this together?
Oh, I like that.
What if we, including you guys out there too, if you guys might be willing with us to address some of this, of maybe starting by putting the phone on the floor or the end of the bed and then let it slowly migrate into the bathroom or something.
Exactly.
Because I need some accountability with that because I'm up on my phone late. I'll crawl into bed early, but I'll spend 2 hours easily on my phone.
Yeah, and as you can see from the research, it's not good for you.
It's not good.
But yes, let's try that.
All right. Oh,
All
boy.
right. Oh.
We have witnesses now.
It's getting real. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed this counsel trend. If you liked it, give us a like. And also, we love to hear from you. If you have any comments on, hey, if you're like us or if you want to actually engage with us on our little deal that we have going on, please let us know. Also, if there's something that you would like to see, please let us know.
Any suggestions?
Yes, we love the suggestions. And please don't forget to hit that bell so that you can know when there is a counsel trends available. Thank you, and we love being a part of your life.